Well, along with the rest of the offense, there was another area of this team that everybody knew needed some improvement. The bullpen. And they did it. They went and got 2 bullpen arms to bolster this bullpen, and one guy stands above the other. Let's start with Yimi Garcia. What an addition they got for, by the way, a cost that makes them look like bandits compared to what the rest of the league had to pay for bullpen arms.
Yeah, I can't believe this. Like seeing what some of these other prices are. Jonathan Clase and Jacob Sharp for Yimi Garcia, who's going to be a free agent, but I don't care.
No.
This might be the best bullpen arm on the market. I think they got the best one. Mm-hmm. Doing some digging on this, I don't know who else is matching it. Like, he quietly, I mean, I knew he was having a good season. This dude has a strikeout minus walk percentage of 30. That means he is striking out 30% more batters than he's walking on a percentage basis. 36% strikeout rate and 6% walk rate. Like, what? Like, he literally almost jumps past Andres Munoz.
I think they've got their guy. They wanted that 3-headed monster, and they unfortunately couldn't have it because they lost Matt Brash for the year, and Gregory Santos just recently got back on the field. They've got it now all of a sudden. They've really got it. And I think, honestly, because Santos is on such a schedule, because they have to work him back from this injury carefully, you've got your 8-9. It's pretty clear. Yimi Garcia is going to pitch the 8th most nights, and Munoz is going to pitch the 9th, unless you want Munoz to face the heart of the order in the 8th. It's pretty good. They needed this guy. They needed another stud bullpen arm like this, and they've got it.
Let's read off a couple things of just sort of backing up why, how much of a breakout that's been for him. He has thrown about half as many innings as he did last year. Last year, he set his career high in F4. This year, he's 0.1. He's a 10th of a win above replacement away from tying that mark in half as many innings. Half. Twice as good on the F4 scale. I mentioned the strikeout numbers. Lowest home run rate of his career. His fastball has taken an enormous leap this year. He is allowing just a .250 slugging percentage off that pitch. A true riding high four-seam fastball that he throws at the top of the strike zone. It's also the pitch he throws the most. But here's I think the most interesting thing. I sent you a screenshot yesterday when I was poking around his Fangraphs page. Something looked off. Now, what exactly looked off about his page? So I was looking at his Stuff Plus numbers, which we'll dabble in every now and then, depending on the pitcher. So I was curious, well, okay, so he's been significantly better this year than he has every other season of his career. He's had good seasons in his career, but not this good. And shout out to him because he's probably going to make a lot of money because of it as a reliever. Seeing some of those contracts that relievers have gotten in the past few seasons. So sitting there and looking at his Stuff Plus, and if you look at his slider ones, it's like it'll vary from the 80s to the 90s to the low 100s, essentially, which is anywhere from, so Stuff Plus, again, it's like WRC Plus, except it rates like the stuff, not including location, how much the pitch is moving, what's the shape of it, etc. And again, it was the 80s, 90s, and 100s, so slightly below average to slightly above average. Until this season, when his slider is 188.
So 88%.
It almost doubled above. In one season.
Yeah. 88% above league average with that pitch.
So what happened? Well, I think it's because he stopped, for the most part, throwing his bullet slider, and he switched to a sweeper this year, which he throws almost exclusively to right-handers. He threw it, I think, 3 total times last year, and now has upped it to against righties, throwing it 25% of the time this year. And I'm pretty sure that's the pitch that has a 188. And it's been so effective. Righties especially have really suffered because of this pitch, because he's always been fine against righties because he's a righty in his career. But this year, Lyle, he's allowing a 125 slug against righties. They legitimately cannot do damage against him. And I think it's because of that pitch. And it's been remarkably effective.
I was going to say, his career splits against righties and lefties aren't that drastic. Now, he is better against righties for his career, but nothing like this year. You talk about a step forward. Okay, you use slugging percentage. What I have down here is lefties are putting up a 794 OPS against them, so like they've hit him a little bit. It's not like drastic or anything. Righties have a 284 OPS against Jimmy Garcia this year. Righties don't hit him, period. And when you talk about a revamped slider moving to a sweeper, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, wonder why the Mariners were like, ooh, oh, this could work.
Mm-hmm.
Looks right up our alley. So now you have quite the slider fastball duo in the back end of your bullpen. But seriously, this pitch has legitimately jumped him to like an Andres Munoz level reliever. Like seriously, like you look at the stats across the board, like a 2.53 ERA, the xERA is lower, the FIP is right there as well. Like his WHIP is .75, doesn't walk batters, strikes out 36%. Like come on,
Gets
for Jonathan Clase.
Yeah, gets chased, gets swing and miss, doesn't walk anybody, doesn't get hit hard. How much more can you ask for out of a reliever? I think he's better than Carlos Estevez. I think he's better than Jason Adam. I think he's better than there was some other big name reliever that got traded.
Tanner Scott,
who walks everybody these days. They gave up minimal prospect return to maybe get the best reliever, which again, Jerry's usually pretty good about this. He's not usually behind the eight ball with trades when he wants to make a trade. We see him all the time in the offseason get out in front of it first. And he did that at this deadline. He got the first big bat off the board. He got the first big reliever off the board. And they gave up real prospects for Randy Arozarena, but it wasn't anybody in their top 10. And they really didn't have to give up a whole lot for Jimmy Garcia. Even though he's a rental, they didn't have to give up a lot for him.
Jonathan Clase might be a big league quality player eventually. I don't think he really showed that this year, really struggled at the plate. He's still got some work to do in the field. He probably needs a lot more time in AAA. Jacob Sharp was someone, undrafted. So it's not a whole lot of capital, really, that you had to give up for that. No. And the impact he will make on this bullpen is enormous. Mm-hmm. Because the Mariners thought Gregory Santos was going to step right in and do exactly what Jimmy Garcia's been doing this season, and he hasn't done that. He's looked shaky. Looks his stuff has been all over the place, and they haven't really been able to fully rely on him coming back from injury. So that's why this addition is ever that more important.
100%. Also, I don't know if we mentioned it in the last segment, but we're talking about the prospects that went back. It was RJ Schreck that went back for Justin Turner. So again, didn't have to give up that much for another rental. But yeah, like this is all to say the Mariners at this deadline got a lot of impactful pieces, and they didn't have to give up any of their blue chip prospects, or not even just the blue chip prospects, even the guys slightly below that. They kept everybody intact. So this is a topic for another podcast episode, or maybe for Brock and Salk on Friday, which, by the way, if those of you who don't already know, we are hosting Brock and Salk on Friday again. We can't wait. It's 6 to 10 a.m. on Seattle Sports. We might talk about this a little bit more, but they still have all the ammo in the world to make a big swing of a trade this offseason, where they have all their prospects in line, paired with a couple more high-end draft picks now, too, to do it. So, pretty good deadline, and they have all their prospects intact.
But that's not even just a Mariner thing. There were 0 top 100 prospects traded.
I know.
Just maybe a completely separate conversation to have about teams and how they operate.